What's inside a war wagon? Why is a Teutonic Knight so slow? What the heck is a Shravamsha rider? And why doesn't this Tarkan have a torch? In this series I will explain for every unique unit its historic background and rate on a scale from 0 to 5 how well it's captured in the game. Expansion by expansion, starting all the way back in 1999. In alphabetical order first are the Britons with their Longbowman. And this might be already the most straightforward unique unit, because Welsh and English Longbowmen were the signature of British armies for centuries. And just as in the game, historic Longbowmen prioritized range over accuracy. The longbow was deep enrooted in British society, and marksmanship was regularly practiced for hunting or as a sport. It used to be the only sport permitted on Sundays, so to encourage the Brits to practice their bow and arrow game. Just a little nitpick though, they didn't carry quivers on the back, but on the waist, as this fine chap does. The CATAPHRACT is a type of heavy armored cavalryman originating from Persia. The East Roman and the Byzantine Empire adopted this unit from their enemy and gave it its Greek name, which means fully armored. They primarily used lances, horse and rider were covered in scale armor. Historically, cataphracts were mainly used against foot soldiers, so the bonus damage against infantry is justified. The cataphract was by no means unique to the Byzantines. It could as well have been a regional unit, shared by Byzantines, Persians, Tatars, Cumans, Mongols, Chinese and Bulgarians. One can even argue that also Huns, Magyars and even Koreans or Goths use cataphract-like heavy cavalry. The WOAD Raider. What is WOAD? This is WOAD. It is a plant from which a blue pigment can be extracted to dye textiles. According to myth, Mel Gibson and the Age of Empires history section, Scottish warriors painted themselves to look more fearsome and unnerve their enemies. Okay, there is a lot to unpack here. The first and only report of this WOAD myth comes from an Italian guy called Julius Caesar in his book about the war in Gaul and Great Britain. The issue is, Caesar never said they use WOAD, it was just later assumed he meant it, and the whole book is just propaganda anyways. But most importantly, the few South English tribes that Caesar encountered in his very short campaign have hardly anything to do with the AoE2 Scots around William Wallace, who lived 1300 years later. And finally, WOAD is a terrible choice to dye your skin. It dries and falls off quickly and is caustic to the skin. Bottom line, WOAD Raiders didn't exist. Let's have a look at the unit model. We just established that the image of wild, naked and painted warriors is Roman propaganda. In fact, the Celts were masters in craftsmanship and metalwork. They would have laughed at someone taking such a lousy shield to battle. Here, better take this actual Celtic shield found in England. And you don't really want to go into battle without a helmet, right? Better take this Celtic ceremonial helmet found in France. And why are you naked? You Celts have invented mail armor. Now, finally, put that rugged chopper away and take a credible weapon. There you go. Chukonu, or more accurately something like Jugenu, is the name of the weapon. Nu means crossbow, and Juge is the name of the general who popularized it. As in the game, it can be loaded and drawn very rapidly by wiggling a lever back and forth. The range is very limited, and since it can shoot only small darts, the projectiles were tipped in poison to be deadly. From old records, it seems that at least for later periods, the Jugenu was only occasionally used in battles and rather seen as a self-defense weapon for civilians. Quote, "The Jugenu is a handy little weapon that even the Confucian scholar or palace woman can use in self-defense." Fun fact, the Jugenu had a firing rate of around 2 projectiles per 3 seconds, making it the most rapid firing weapon in existence until the invention of the Gatling gun 1800 years later. This is a throwing AXEMAN, apparently called so because he is throwing an axe the size of a man. The unit is inspired by the Franziska, an axe which is named after the Franks, their tribal weapon so to say. And it was in fact thrown. The Franks would charge towards the enemy and shortly before impact throw their Franziskas, and then draw their primary weapon to continue the slashing. It is speculated that the shape of the Franziska could make it bounce, to some extent, within the enemy ranks, causing confusion and loosening the formation. While the Franziska is of course an excellent pick for the Frankish unique unit, I mean they even share the same name, the size of the weapon could have been chosen more wisely. While real Franziskas were one-handed axes and used together with a shield, the unit model easily wins the award for the most oversized weapon. Also, it is the wrong style of axe and they were not carried on the back. Okay, this is going to be fun. Huskarls were Nordic and Anglo-Saxon paid full-time soldiers in royal guards. They had a high social standing, were well trained and well equipped with swords, axes, shields and state-of-the-art armor. I think their anti-archer mechanic is plausible, since Huskarls would have been pretty resistant to arrows also in reality. A famous appearance of Huskarls was at the Battle of Hastings, which is depicted on the Bio tapestry, showing here a Huskarl with a Danish axe fighting against the Norman knight. And medieval art keeps on giving. Both are barefoot in October, and the knight has his feet not in the stirrups but standing on the ground. What is he riding on? A stick horse? But jokes aside, why does the Huskarl get only 3 stars? The problem here is geography. As mentioned before, Huskarls were Nordic and Anglo-Saxon soldiers, so they were known around here. Goths are an East Germanic tribe. Their exact origin is disputed, but they probably originated somewhere around here, or more likely here. Later, they migrated towards the Black Sea, until the Huns forced them to flee. They migrated through Greece, roughing up the Byzantines, and then pillaged their way up north where they clashed with the Western Roman Empire. Some Goths settled down around there and continued battling the Romans and Byzantines. Others continued ransacking the Italian peninsula, including Rome. This is where our Huskarl must have found his six-pack armor. The remaining Goths moved further west and, after battling the Romans again and again and again, finally settled down in southern France. Of course, that didn't mean they stopped fighting. Remember those Huns from the beginning? Yep, Huns again. And then also the Franks joined in on the Goth bashing. And what do Germans do when they're not welcome anymore in France or Italy? They moved to Spain, where they battled the Byzantines again and finally settled down for good. Until came the Berbers and destroyed them. The Goths, they had it rough. But that's not the point here. The point is, Goths and Huskarls had absolutely nothing to do with each other. These two belong to different cultural regions and are also separated by hundreds of years. The samurai. Unless you're a scholar of Japanese history, you most certainly have never heard of samurai before, since they aren't represented at all in popular culture. Their signature weapon, for example, the katana, is completely unknown to the internet. So, let me explain. Samurai, which means men who serve, is a term for the fighting nobility of medieval and early modern Japan. They were paid and directly served a feudal lord. Samurai utilized a wide array of weapons, a combination of large and small swords, katana and wakizashi, pole weapons such as the yari and naginata, longbows called yumi, and later firearms. By the way, archery was much more prominent among samurai than most people think. In early periods, samurai mostly fought as horse archers. The status of samurai came with many privileges and was inherited. As a class of nobility, samurai were wealthy and gained political influence. They were committed to a code of virtues and duties such as loyalty, respect, courage, honor, in summary called Bushido. With that, we have covered 7 out of 14 Age of Kings unique units. The tier list is very top heavy. Good job by the development team so far. only the WOAD radar falls out of line. In the next video we will take up the remaining 7. Stay tuned in, especially the Teutonic Knight will be a treat, I promise.